Okay, so if I ask you to graph a polar equation, this is how you would do it. Let's begin by graphing something like r equals -4. Anytime I tell you that r is -4 and there's no theta involved, that means that theta could be anything. And so the idea here is that you want to plot every point in the polar plane where its distance from the origin is 4. The negative just means go in the opposite direction. So let's get started on this one. So one way to do this would be to set up a table just like you would do with x and y occasionally. So you could set up theta and r in a table and you can plot some values. So you might start with a theta value of 0, and then we've got pi over 6, and then pi over 3, then you've got pi over 2, and you could do as many of those as you want. But in any case, for all those thetas, r has to be -4. So you start to plot some points just to get a feel for this. So if theta is 0, that means on the polar axis here, the r value is -4, so you don't go to +4, you go to -4, which is in the opposite direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you plot that point. And then at pi over 6, which is here, you go to -4 as well, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. And at pi over 3, you do the same thing, and then at pi over 2, and you can see that at every angle you're going to go in the opposite direction, 4. And so the result is a circle of radius 4. If you were to plot every single point, this is what you would get. And so, this equation, r equals -4, the graph of it looks exactly like the equation if r is +4. So you might check that out. Okay, so the same thing if you know theta and there's no restriction on r could be anything. So you set up your table of values, and hopefully once you get good at this, you won't always have to set up a table of values. But in any case here, theta is going to be 5 pi over 4, and then r could be anything. So you just plot a few to get an idea of what's going to happen. In fact, just to make this a little more difficult, let's make it theta is -5 pi over 4. Let's get used to those negatives as well. And so r could be anything, so let's choose some negatives and some positives, maybe even 0. Let's use -2, -1, 0, 1, and you could continue this obviously. So if theta is -5 pi over 4, here's, even though pi over 4 is not one of the lines on this grid, it's still here. Negative pi over 4 is there, halfway in quadrant 4. Then you've got -2 pi over 4, -3 pi over 4, -4 pi over 4, and finally -5 pi over 4 is right here. And then so your theta is -5 pi over 4 here, r is -2, so that means -2, that means go in the opposite direction of -5 pi over 4, which is now down here. So you get this point. Okay, -5 pi over 4 is back up here, then you got -5 pi over 4, -1. So now you're on -5 pi over 4, but you go in the opposite direction 1, so you're here. -5 pi over 4, 0 is on the origin. -5 pi over 4, +1 is actually in the direction of -5 pi over 4. And so hopefully you can see now that what you end up getting is this straight line along the angle -5 pi over 4. Okay, so you get a straight line in that case.